Greetings from Castle Goring from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. You are seeing Aurora, who is trying to give me lumby bumbies. Mickey is at my feet, and Aurora is here. So hopefully, Aurora is not going to create havoc, and I can plunge in with what Texas Proud has to say. Lady C, I appreciate you spending your energy on healing rather than worrying about the perfect presentation. It's a great example for women to see that is acceptable for health, that it is acceptable for health to be put first. Thanks. Thank you. I mean, I'm all in favour of, oh dear, I hope Aurora is not going to create havoc. I'm all in favour of efficiency, really, and getting a job done as well as I can get it done. But I've never been a perfectionist. To me, good enough is good enough. And in this situation, for all sorts of reasons, not all of which I can go into, it just makes sense to adhere to this, shall we say, static format for the moment. But I'm glad that you see that I'm putting health before presentation. To me, life is really simple. Good comes first. Then right comes next. Constructive and helpful, etc. Positivity always comes before negativity. And hopefully it works. It often does. And I cannot thank all of you enough for your comments. And I also have to say, I need to give a very special thanks to somebody called, her Christian name is Julia. I'm not going to mention the surname, but it begins with G. And she is from New York. And today I saw my surgeon, Mr. Kalpan, who incidentally is very pleased with my progress. But I have to say, Mr. Kalpan really has the measure of the severity of this situation, which doesn't surprise me because somebody who is as capable as he is would really have the right measure of everything. But he got a letter from this lady, handwritten letter, thanking him for taking such good care of me. Is that not wonderful? Both Mr. Kalpan and I were extremely touched. And if you're listening, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and he appreciated it as well. He's a really good man. One of the good things to have come out of this horrendous experience is how exceptionally good one or two people have been. Mr. Kalpan is one of them, chief amongst them, really. But so many other people have been good. Mr. Philip Stott, all the staff at King Edward VII Hospital, some of the staff elsewhere. So, without further ado, let me plunge in now with more nitty-gritty stuff. Susie Q says, Lady C, with divorce rumours circulating again. Yawnsville. And they'll continue circulating until the divorce actually is filed, if it's ever filed. because that's a couple that flourishes on false information, conflict, rumour, and all sorts of sorry, I'm Julia Roberts. I'm just so demure. With circulating against between the Harkles, would you please clear up the situation involving custody of the children? I believe I read or heard in a video that it is a fact that if they are royal children, the Crown has some issue in the outcome. Yes and no. King George II claimed custody of his 3 elder grandchildren when he fell out with his son and heir, Prince Frederick, Prince of Wales, and his wife, and didn't allow the parents to see the children for some considerable length of time. He claimed that as the monarch, he had first dibs on the children, so to speak. That's where that arises. Would it be something that was recognized in American law? I ask that question because I'm not sure it's something that would be recognized in any American state. Of course, sovereign rights and sovereign privileges kick in when you're dealing with the sovereign's family. So that could be a complicating factor. But this is something that could trundle through the American courts for years, if not decades, without any outcome of any certainty whatsoever. Also, I do not think that the king, the present king, would actually be doing anything that would be so controversial as to claim custody of his grandchildren. We, as a state, are signatories to the Hague Convention, as indeed is the United States of America. The Hague Convention trumps it all, and the Hague Convention stipulates that when there is a separation and divorce, certain factors kick in, chief of which is, where is the matrimonial home? The matrimonial home is without doubt in Montecito, California. That's what would govern the jurisdiction, not any claims, spurious or otherwise, made by the British monarch. So I hope that clears it up, to the extent that it is possible to be cleared up, because, believe it or not, despite what I have said, it's a sufficiently grey area that it's possible that something could be done that would actually have an effect. I don't think it would be. I don't think the king would do it, but it's possible that it could be. And on that note, I need to prop up my leg. It's absolutely killing me. Oh, God. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, that's done. 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Oh. J. Frost says, Dear Lady C, what do you think of the American government's communication to their embassies in Europe to monitor the impact of mass migration. It was described as an existential threat, and they are monitoring the human rights violations against native cultures. Very interesting. Would love your thoughts. Illness forces us to prioritize. Having a pared down jewelry selection is absolute common sense. Thank you very much. I think it's commonsensical. It's also practical, and for reasons I cannot go into in any great depth, it's also necessary at this stage because I don't have access to the choice, because everything isn't stored here. So I wouldn't be able to even begin to get involved with the logistics. And even if I could begin to get involved with the logistics, frankly, I don't have the energy. So hopefully that clears that one up. Insofar as the immigration issue, it's a Western societal issue. It's an issue that is affecting all of the Western states. Some more than others. It affects us in the United Kingdom particularly because, notwithstanding the fact that European law requires that a refugee effectively stays at the point of entry, they all come drifting from southern and southwestern, southeastern Europe and Eastern Europe. They come drifting over to Calais so that they can claim benefits in this country. It's all about the moolah. And when you have a member of the British government who says that we cannot afford as a nation to subsidize old age pensioners' heating bills to even the slender extent that we used to do so, and that native Britain's interests come after the duty of the British people and the British government to welcome in illegal immigrants, give them tablets, I mean this sort of tablet, not pop in your mouth tablets, phones, 4-star hotel accommodation. It's a problem, and it's a problem across the nations, less so in Europe than in the United Kingdom, because as a result of the Schengen Agreement, there's free movement within Europe. So they cross the borders into Europe in Greece, in Italy, in wherever. Let's not be too particular. And then they mosey their way up to Calais, pay 5 and 10 and 20,000 pounds for a seat on a dinghy to cross the English Channel. And we reward them the way we do. Well, we being the government, because it's an extremely unpopular move politically. Is it an existential threat? Well, anybody who knows anything about history and knows anything about the fall of the Western Roman Empire will know that when you let in too many barbarians, and incidentally, a barbarian wasn't a savage. A barbarian was somebody who was simply not a Roman citizen. And Rome let in so many barbarians that ultimately the barbarians, many of whom incidentally became Roman citizens, they so outnumbered the native Italian citizens, not just the Roman citizens, the native Italian citizens, and the Greco-Roman citizens, because the ancient Roman Republic was an outgrowth of the ancient Greek republics. And this ultimately resulted in the destruction of the Western Roman Empire. So, is it an existential threat? To anybody who is informed about history, it is. To anybody who is dumb enough, arrogant enough, and political enough to think that you can reconfigure the wheel, and if you make it a square, you're going to be a genius. That's a horse of a different color. I know a lot of people think that immigration is being used for political ends. It's being used for political ends by all political parties. But the fact of the matter is, we cannot, as a civilization, tolerate endless illegal immigration. It is unfeasible. It is untenable. And it is irresponsible for any government to think otherwise. And I regard my first duty as a citizen to the welfare of my state, not to any political party, to the state. And anybody who thinks that mass illegal immigration is not an existential threat to our civilization is an idiot. Maybe a malignant idiot, but an idiot. QPR says, Lady C, 2 questions if you please. The great Jimmy Cliff has died. Did you know him? Did you like his music? And what about Lady Jill Freud, who has just died as well? Did you know her? What was she like? I did not know Jimmy Cliff. Jimmy Cliff was a very famous Jamaican singer. He starred in The Harder They Come, which was made by Perry Henzell. Now, Perry and his widow Sally are great, great friends of one of my closest friends, Cookie Kincaid, a very famous Jamaican photographer. We are childhood friends. Sally and Cookie and Perry go way, way back. I was never a close friend of Sally and Perry's because I've not lived in Jamaica since the age of 18. And that's when all of them solidified their adult friendships. Perry is the one who made The Harder They Come. And it's a brilliant movie, absolutely brilliant. And if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend that you see it. All the reports I know of Jimmy Cliff is that he was not only a fabulous singer, which he was, but he was also actually a great guy. But his trajectory in life was in many ways divergent from mine, because he went into searching out the African roots of his heritage, while I, of course, have different roots and different heritages. And also, I'm not a singer, but he was a musician as well as a singer, very fine singer. And he did an awful lot of music that inspired an awful lot of people, including Bruce Springsteen. Can you imagine Bruce Springsteen? And now, Jill Freud, I didn't really know her. I met her a few times at Wendy Lee's parties. Wendy Lee was a cousin of the Freuds. Jill Freud was married to Sir Clement Freud, and her daughter is Emma Freud. Her son is Matthew Freud. She and Clement Freud, if I remember correctly, had 5 children, some of whom I used to see at Wendy's parties. She was a charming woman, absolutely charming, really interesting. She was a sometime actress, she had theatre companies in, I think it was somewhere in the country. It might have been Suffolk. I think it was Suffolk. And she was also very pragmatic, because after he died, Sir Clement Freud had certain accusations levelled against him. He apologised to the girls, and she didn't try to defend him. She came right out and apologised. But she had an interesting life in her own stance, because when during the war, she was evacuated to Oxford, and she ended up living with C.S. Lewis for 3 years. And the character of Lucy in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is based on her. She actually rather liked it and decided that he rather liked her, which of course he did. Her granddaughter did a rather sweet tribute. Her daughter Emma Scarlett Curtis, Emma Freud's daughter, Scarlett Curtis, did a rather sweet tribute to Jill on Instagram. She said, "My grandmother never wanted to be addressed as such," meaning she was no granny. She was Lady Jill Freud, actress, tap dancer, leader, friend. Lady Jill was a force of nature. She swam, acted, and tap danced on she was in her 90s. She flirted, drank, and laughed until the end. Lady Jill Freud did not want to be a granny, but she was mine, and I was the luckiest to have her for 30 years. She also says something very amusing, how during lockdown, when she complained about being lonely, she said, "Would you like to borrow my, the thing that you use on your face to massage it that vibrates?" I mean, talk about a naughty granny. Oh. And to those of you who don't realise, Sir Clement Freud was the grandson of Sigmund Freud, the famous psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, father of psychiatry. So I hope that sheds just a little bit of light. I'm afraid I don't have a big torch where this is concerned. But I met her a few times and I liked her. I thought she was an absolutely lovely, delightful woman, full of enthusiasm and life, very open. Heather Justerson says, Lady C, you are an inspiration in dealing with adversity and recovery with determination and grace. I don't know about that. I'm making much of a production about trying to get comfortable, but thanks. I recently saw a picture of the grandchildren of the Duke of Gloucester, and some of them looked like they were mixed race. Did your bongo drums get any messages that there were conversations and concerns about the colour of their skin? It's such a pity that I can't have my bongo drums with me, but they're just too hefty to have in here. And Gary Lewis, who was married to the Duke of Gloucester's daughter, is a Māori. And he was welcomed into the family by the late Queen, Prince Philip, all of the royal family. So when Meghan comes up with her nonsense, like she discovered the wheel, she is the one who happened upon the Americas. She is the one who discovered that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And she is the one who introduced colour into the royal family. No, she's not. Aside from the Duke of Gloucester's son-in-law, Nadejda Torby was a descendant of Pushkin, very proudly a descendant of Pushkin, as her great-granddaughter, Sasha, Duchess of Abercorn, emphasized repeatedly. She was a descendant of a Chadian slave who was bought in Constantinople for Peter the Great, educated and freed by Peter the Great, and became a general and married into the aristocracy. And thereafter, the family remained fully paid up members of the Russian aristocracy. That's another. Let's not forget Madragana of Pharaoh, 6 times cropping up in Princess Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz's family tree. She became Queen Charlotte, consort of King George III. Let's not also forget Philippa of Hainault, as they say in England, mother of the Black Prince. They'd like to say he was called the Black Prince because his shield was black. Shields were often black. It's because he was very dark-skinned, as was she. Read the description of the bishop who went to interview her for the projected marriage, which incidentally took place. So, and I have said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Everybody wanted the children to be as dark as possible. Those children are milky white. What's the point of having children of colour that are milky white? How well does that play with the Commonwealth? Because it's sort of obvious that, but for Meghan's claims to be 99% Nigerian and 127% Maltese. She has a lot more white than... The whole thing is farcical, and the less said about it, the better. Grażyna Kawka says, as a Pole, I can tell you that Ukrainian men who left their country do not go back to fight. They don't go back for fear of being drafted forcefully. Hundreds of thousands stay in Poland, and most pull their weight and work, having been granted refugee privileges. It is the Ukrainian women who trek back and forth for their elderly parents, relatives, who stayed behind or to check on their homesteads. The people do not want the war. And the word of Zelensky's corruption is well spread, although not commented upon openly. Poland has a huge problem with Ukrainian refugees, and they don't particularly want them in their country. I'm afraid I'm going to leave it with one last thing, because I'm in rather too much pain. I think it's most likely the journey to and from London, but things are not looking good for me. So I'm going to take one last question, and I'm going to sign off. Sorry about this, but no point concealing the reality. Blue ink. Lady C, you sure set fire to the Netflix trailer Murder in Monaco. Does this mean I need to subscribe again? I wish you well. Blue ink, thank you for that. Whether you wish to subscribe or not is up to you. I am afraid I would not recommend one way or the other. If you want to know what really went on, you can read my book, Empress Bianca. It's a pretty comprehensive account of how Lily Safra managed to bump off her two very rich husbands, one with the help of the other. And then, of course, when the other became an inconvenience, he got bumped off as well. I can look into it to see the status, because I don't really know the status at the moment. But I will look into it, because several people have been asking about it. But I really have nothing to do with the Netflix production, save having been interviewed by them. And I don't even remember being interviewed by them particularly. I vaguely remember that I was interviewed by them, but all that I saw, I have to tell you, does not exactly flick my light switch and bring back memories. So quite what my contribution is going to be is open to question. But it's absolutely amazing to me that Netflix has gone to the lengths it has to promote Murder in Monaco, effectively using me. Quite astonishing as far as I'm concerned. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. Please keep the questions and comments coming in so I'll know what you'd like us to be speaking about. Okay, thank you so much. Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and I'm not even going to say it. Okay, thank you so much. Take good care. Godspeed. Bye-bye.